favorite song about you is...
Yeah, but I gotta watch the camera on here in the back. I can't go
It's pretty
I feel it.
Right on, boss.
I want my characters to shine through. I want my passion and my struggle.
He's one of the best. He's iconic. He's one of the most creative people I've ever met or encountered or listened to in my life. He's the epitome of soul and one of the greats. And I wish him the absolute best. R. Kelly, love. Yes.
R. Kelly means a lot to me musically. He's my mentor, the executive producer of my album. And to me, he's taught me just how to be musical and to fight for real music to come on the radio and be yourself.
Kelly is one of those very rare artists that come along where, you know, the longevity, the being able to, you know, change with the times and always be on top creatively.
Pleasure, my man.
Wow,
He's so good at creating moments and not just music. If you hear his songs, you know where you were when you heard it, you know what you were doing, and you keep doing those things over and over again. It's a gift.
He's got a gift that I don't even know if he knows how deep and how far his gift goes, you know.
I'm glad to be performing with my buddies, you know, my musical buddies, outside of musical buddies, you know.
He's like a son to me, and he listens, and he gets it, man. He knows what to do before I even come in the studio. He knows it, you know. And when he did the song Contagious, it just split me up. Yeah. I could stand here and talk about him all night.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I love you guys. Oh my God.
Robert is also somebody I wanted to work with. R. Kelly is one of the greatest that ever did it, especially when it comes to lyrics and knowing how to make a song that makes sense to the everyday person, because I'm just like them. I'm getting up taking my kids to school. I've been heartbroken before. I've been happy. I've been loved. I've had losses. These are all things that R. Kelly understands. So when I asked him for this record and he obliged, it just made me even more eager to work with him because I know that he gets it. He's a consummate professional, but also R. Kelly, I think, is he's a genius in the sense that he knows how to take some of the most difficult things and make it relate to you. I remember when I was about 19, I lost 3 people back to back, one to suicide, then my grandmother, then my cousin had an aneurysm, and we're only about 4 years apart in age, so it was totally unexpected. And I remember singing I Wish every day when I woke up. I would get up and I would sing that song from front to back. Whatever he experienced, it translated to me and my experiences. It takes somebody very special to be able to do songs like that. So R. Kelly is just, he's one of those ones.
But, you know, that being said, he's a genius at what he does. He's a great guy, and it just that didn't work. So I'm sure that, you know.
Prior to us kind of breaking off relationships, which happens in the business, 15 years without even meeting him, yet I did all of his product. See? He would send me, well, when the 2-track tapes were on the market, he'd send me 2 tracks in Detroit from Chicago. We'd get them in FedEx, put the symphony on, the strings, the horns, or whatever we had to do, ship it back next night, okay? We didn't meet for 15 years, okay? Never face to face. He was the producer, I'm the arranger. So that took a lot of faith, And I think R. Kelly is, he's so creative himself, he wants to get the full creativity out of whoever he works with. Stevie's the same way, Stevie Wonder, same way. He doesn't stand over you and dictate. He just hires you because he wants your abilities, you know? That's why people should hire you, because they want your unique talents, see? And not a lot of people are aware of that, see? That's because they're somewhat insecure in what they're doing. When a person is secure, a producer, they will
Serious
do
note, I don't take my songwriting, my blessing of being able to sing and to play instruments or produce or arrange for granted, or take it as if it just could have been or should have been. I do know that it is a blessing, and I'm very thankful for that. So At a very young age, I understood that the message was in the music, and it's so important what we bring and give to the family, meaning the world family, because it is that statement that will last forever. So to those this day on will be recipients of that, I hope that you will wear me well. And I'm going to say that the person that is the first recipient is an incredibly talented man, is a songwriter. What's up, baby? This is an incredible songwriter, producer, and has a great imagination. And I think that has so much to do with how you write and what you write. So I'd like you to know that this year's recipient of the 2006 Stevie Wonder Songwriters Award is R. Kelly. He's gone.
Let's start with the prosecution. They summed up their case by arguing that R. Kelly wasn't just sexually and physically abusive to girls, boys, and adult women, but that he used a network of people to essentially entrap his victims and silence them. How well do you feel that they made this argument?
So, first off, the prosecution, their closing arguments lasted about 6 hours. So they started yesterday and finished up today. However, in those 6 hours, they were very detailed in how this enterprise, the inner circle of R. Kelly, assisted him, enabled him to be able to carry out these sexual acts with these young ladies for so many years. I think the prosecution did a great job in going victim by victim and showing how their testimony is corroborated and why the jury can believe what they're saying, and how is it that this enterprise enabled that to go on for so long.
And the defense has been arguing that R. Kelly was the innocent one, painting his accusers as the greedy fame seekers here. Did they present compelling evidence to that effect?
So the defense attorney today summed for about 2 hours and 40 minutes. And their entire closing argument, they were saying, of course, R. Kelly is the victim. He is the king of R&B, and that these women were out there for money. These were groupies. They wanted his money. And when you hear of surviving R. Kelly, they were actually surviving off of R. Kelly. And that was the theme throughout his closing argument, that all these women and some of their family members were after him because they wanted his money. They wanted to live his life. That they are now saying that these things happen against their consent because now they don't have that money. They're looking to sue. They're looking for book deals. And that's why they have to say what they're saying now.
As an experienced trial lawyer yourself, how do you see this case playing out to the jury? Who wins the day here?
Look, I'm going to tell you, so both sides have done an excellent job in terms of their closing arguments. It's going to come down to those 12 jurors to determine whether those victims, Jane Doe's 1 through 6, or actually hearing from 2 to 6, plus the uncharged victims, whether they believe what they're saying. Because in terms of physical evidence, there is little to none. Because in terms of physical evidence, there is little to none. Because in terms of physical evidence, there is little to none. Because in terms of physical evidence, there is little to none.
I told y'all niggas. Y'all thought I was playing, but I told y'all niggas he coming home today. He coming home today. Told y'all better believe it. The streets is his.
Because in terms of physical evidence, there is little to none. Because in terms of physical evidence, there is little to none.
I told y'all niggas.
However, what the prosecution is relying on is on testimony. However, for the defense, I have to say, there are strength in numbers, and that is what the prosecution has on their side, is that, one, they put on 45 witnesses. They were able to put on many witnesses to corroborate the long history of how R. Kelly was treating these women, how he indoctrinated these women, how he gaslit these women, how he isolated them and made them dependent on him. And that's why they weren't able to leave on their own. But for years, sexual exploitation, talking about kidnapping, bribery, there are a lot of charges against R. Kelly, and it's going to be a long deliberation for that jury to get through all those charges. But in the end, you need those 12 jurors to find that the prosecution proved that case beyond a reasonable doubt if they want a conviction in this case.
letting you know now. Well, I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay. I did want to tell you, like, to switch the 90 days out, but when you do switch them out, I do have a lot of stuff to talk to you about, like really good stuff. What do you mean? We already talked about last week switching out the days. We've been talked about that. So why are you saying wow?
Yeah, because you hung up on me and called right into the building, and they called me to the floor to discuss the same thing I had already told you.
No, I called.
R. Kelly would have testified, it would have been complete suicide, because the thing is that R. Kelly has been engaging allegedly in these acts for decades, and it would have opened him up to be cross-examined about so many things that he's charged with, not charged with, and also cross-examined about things that the world hasn't heard about yet.
All right, so definitely that's a treasure trove that the defense did not want to open up. No cameras in the courtroom for this trial, but you've been on the inside. You have during your career. How has he reacted throughout all of the graphic accusations, the sexual, the physical abuse? I'm so curious about that. What was he doing during that testimony?
So normally what he does is that, one, he has a mask on. He also has glasses on. So he's usually always looking down. It's been very rare where he has reacted to anyone testifying. I believe the only time I seen him react is when he had like a longtime employee who was testifying, and it was almost like a shrug of the shoulders that he gave. But even yesterday, during the closing argument of the prosecutor for 3.5 hours, he had no reaction. I had to take another look at him to see if he was sleeping.
Oh, wow. And is that something you expected? Because, again, you're a veteran inside this very courtroom you've been. Is that a surprise to you that, given the graphic nature and the accusations that are laying at his feet, that there was no reaction? Or as an attorney, that's the instruction you would have given him?
I'm not surprised that he didn't have a reaction. And as if I were his attorney, I would give him that instruction, like, you are not to make any sounds. You are not to make any facial expressions. You are not to move around in your chair. You are to either look down and make believe you're writing something, but you are to say nothing. What does help him is that he's wearing a mask. So if he is making facial expressions, you can't see it. Because remember, when you're in the courtroom, the jurors, all they are doing is looking, and they want to see every little thing that the attorney who's asking a question, the witness that's on the stand, and the defendant are doing at all times.
Isn't it funny how this lady could point out all these strict instructions she would give to her clients, but people are acting brand new when it comes to this man and his alleged rules when it comes to these people trying to extort him and get close to his entourage and past girlfriends? That's very peculiar to me.
Hey, Bernarda, you seem tough to me. If I were your client, you gave me that instruction, I'm pretty sure I'd do exactly what you said. Okay, we got it. What about the witnesses and the jury? Also curious because, you know, many in the other room watching via camera were not able to ever see this jury. Did they react to any of the witnesses on the stand more than others?
So it's different how they set it up because of COVID. So actually no one can see the jury, because the way they set up the courtroom is that the jury is not sitting in the jury box. The jury is sitting in the audience, and they're spread out. Who's in the jury box is the actual witness. So the witness is testifying not from the witness box, from the jury box, and then you have the jury inside of the audience. And just to think that this is a different type of trial because these jurors are anonymous. What do I mean by that? Is that the names have not been disclosed to the attorneys or to the public of who are the sitting jurors in this case.
And remind us why. Why is that? Threats or another reason?
So many reasons. One, the judge wants to prevent that there's any contact with the jury while the trial is going on. The judge also wants to prevent that anyone tries to approach them on the street or as they're going inside of the courtroom. Also, you know, natural instinct will want you to do research on these jurors. You know, there's social media as the trial is going on to keep a watch on them. But more importantly is that the judge wants to make sure that there are no threats, there's no type of bribery of these jurors while the trial is going on, because we are dealing with a high profile case and you just never know what can happen.
Yeah, in other state trials, there were allegations that perhaps R. Kelly may have gotten to some witnesses, their parents, you know, those allegations anyway. You've been on both sides of the courtroom, as we said. While the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, and I think we can agree on that, the defense only needs one juror, one of these jurors to side with them and hold this whole case up, and there won't be a conviction. Whose case is stronger?
Well, definitely. Of course, you know, the defendant has no burden. They don't have to put up any witnesses, but they did. They put on 5 witnesses. And to sum it up, of the 5 witnesses, what they said was like, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. R. Kelly can do no wrong. But the prosecution in this case, that makes it different from the state court case when he was acquitted, they stacked the case against R. Kelly. They stacked the case against R. Kelly.
I told y'all niggas. I told y'all niggas.
They stacked the case against R. Kelly. Here in this case, you have 6 victims, 6 Jane Does named in the indictment. Aside from those 6 Jane Does, you had uncharged other victims, male and female, who also made allegations that were similar in theme about, look, R. Kelly was controlling. He was manipulative. You couldn't move around without his permission. You had to abide by his rules. You couldn't look up. You couldn't have contact with another male. You had to wear baggy clothes. It was R. Kelly's way, or you may just receive a spanking if you disobeyed the R.
The only thing I have left is my voice, and now I have to use it for my protection, because they left me no choice. See, my work has nothing to do with my private life, so stay the fuck out of my business and tend to your own damn life. So go ahead, say what you wanna say about who I wanna date, but you won't say that shit to my face, cause you know it ain't shit to say. Next nigga bring me some dumb shit, it's gonna be a misunderstanding, cause niggas that listen to dumb shit are niggas that be on that dumb shit. They need a life cause they ain't got no life, so they always conjuring up dumb shit. Blocking my path, they don't know the half, and so they making assumptions. Since when do assumptions cost a man his whole career? Found guilty when you're innocent is the only test I fear. There is one thing that's for sure, and I wanna make this shit clear. I done lived my voice and represented my country for 31 fucking years. Damn it, I admit.